The Ming took the greatest city in the Americas and never stopped moving. Colonies, magistrates, an empire built on another empire's bones. Then the silver it bled from that conquest found its way home to Europe, carried on rumour alone, and Spain, shut out of every other ocean, gambled everything on one voyage west. By 1520, two empires were closing in on the same continent from opposite shores. Could the people who had lived here for thousands of years take back what was theirs? In the spring of 1512, 3 Spanish ships landed on a stretch of coast, pine forest and marsh stretching farther than any of them could see. They claimed it the way they always did, a cross planted in the sand, a proclamation read out to an audience of gulls, a name given to a bay that already had one. The people living along that coast had never seen a ship, a horse, or a face like these, and had no legend to explain them. Whatever this was, it was something new. The Spanish were not just looking for new land, they were chasing a rumour carried from the other side of the world. Small parties followed year after year, trading iron for furs and corn, probing the peoples they met with a single question: who rules the land to the west? For years, the answer was only a shrug, or the name of a chief who did not exist. Then, quite by chance, in 1528, a scouting party near the river the Choctaw called Mistassippi killed a warrior unlike any they had seen. He wore a cloth they recognized, the kind sold in the ports of the Mediterranean. They knew then that they had found a trail. By the 1520s, the frontier that had haunted the Ming court since before Zheng He's first voyage was restless again. Dayan Khan had spent a generation uniting the tribes north of the Great Wall, and his heirs were raiding the frontier once more. The same anxiety that had once pulled treasure fleet silver into walls and cavalry pulled at the treasury again. And this time, an ocean and a continent stood between Beijing and the legacy they had spent decades building. Distance was doing the same work on the Spanish, only faster. Once the trail was found by chance, word quickly crossed the Atlantic. A handful came first, carried by the same rumour, the same faith, the same hope, drawn across the ocean toward a land they believed was waiting for them. By the time they reached the interior, nearly half the men who had set out were gone, but the trail had led them somewhere. Beyond the river, they found a settlement unlike anything they had encountered before. Its walls were built in a style they did not recognize. Its roofs curved upward at the edges, and above the gate hung a faded banner bearing characters none of them could read. Had they found a lost tribe? Had they found an empire? The Spanish did not yet know its name. They did not know how long it had been there, and they certainly did not know that, only a few hundred miles away, men inside those walls had begun to wonder who was moving through their forests. Both were moving toward the same frontier. Neither knew the other was already there. By 1531, 3 years after the trail was found, the Spanish stood before the walls they had been searching for. The gates were shut. The captain did what Spanish captains did on unclaimed ground. He had the requerimiento read aloud, a formal demand that the people inside submit to the Pope and the Spanish crown, or face the consequences. No one on the walls understood a word. What they saw was a foreign army outside their gate, demanding submission. From the Ming side, the terms were just as clear. Strangers had arrived, and strangers were expected to submit first. Both sides stayed still. On the third day, one moved. The Spanish came with steel, crossbows, matchlocks, and horses the garrison's scouts had never seen used in war. The Ming answered from behind the walls with hand cannons, fire lances, and repeating crossbows. The weapons were different, the killing was not. The fighting lasted 6 days, the walls held, then they broke. Spanish soldiers reached the outer defences, only to be driven back by gunpowder and bolts. Ming troops pushed through the smoke to counter-attack, only to find horses and steel waiting beyond the breach. Neither side could break the other. By the 6th day, there was barely enough strength left on both sides to try. The Ming garrison had lost more than half its already thin numbers. The Spanish force had been reduced to fewer than 80 men. Both captains finally gave the same order: fall back. And no one had noticed the eyes watching from the tree line, counting exactly how few of them were left standing. The peoples of the interior had learned the Ming from deserters, from the weapons those men carried, and from the scars they left behind. They had learned the Spanish from horses, steel, and the settlements left in their wake. 8 decades had taught them the same lesson. No one had come here with peace. At dawn on the 3rd day, they came out of the tree line. A coalition of tribes moved across the open ground with determination and fury. Some carried hand cannons taken from fallen Ming soldiers. Others rode horses taken from the very enemies who had brought them here. Bows, spears, stolen steel. Everything the two empires had left behind had become part of the army now surrounding them. The Spanish couldn't hold any longer. There was no time to form ranks, no line to hold. By midday, the Spanish were gone from the frontier, dead, scattered, or running for a coast they would never reach. The Ming garrison had walls, it had discipline, and its soldiers understood that their fate had already been decided. The flag came down, and the people who had brought it down had knew they were not the only ones here. There were enemies on this land, and they would keep hunting them. Word of the battle would take months to cross an ocean. By the time it did, the people across the sea would know that this was not an empty wilderness. The war in the north did not end with the fall of the Dominion. It spread south, reaching the heart of Mexico, where the Ming presence was strongest. Not only the empire itself, but the people who actually belonged there, and the news from the north became something larger than a military defeat. It became proof that an empire could be pushed back, that the people who lived on this land could stand, and that they could win. And the Spanish survivors who made it back across the Atlantic carried their anger with them, along with lies about a vast land, a weak population, and unimaginable quantities of gold and silver. And so the armies came again, and the wars continued. People have always wanted more. More land, more wealth, more power, and when they see something they want, they will find a reason to take it. But people also protect what they already have. Their homes, their families, their land, and when those things are taken from them, they fight to get them back. That is where the cycle begins. None of this belongs to one nation or one empire. Greed is not Chinese, hatred is not Spanish, and the desire to protect a home belongs to no single people. Change the world and these things remain. History can change, but human nature remains. In this world, in the world that actually happened, and in every world in between. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. These videos take a long time to research and edit, so uploads can be a little slow. If you enjoyed this one, subscribing really does mean a lot. It's a huge motivation to keep making the next one. I'll be back with another story soon.